Social implications of automation on the American workforce. So according to Derek Thompson from the stimulus packet, he shows how automation can take jobs by showing that AT&T was worth $267 billion, but employed over 750,000 people in 1964. But today, Google is worth over $370 billion, but employs only 55,000 people. This shows a theme of automation throughout the stimulus packet, which inspired me and led to my question about what are the social implications of automation on the American workforce. Unemployment is one of the social implications of automation. So according to David Lamb from the Christian Science Monitor, Home Depot has about 850 stores across the U.S., which include self-checkout lanes, which basically eliminates the need for cashiers, increasing the unemployment rate. That's also shown in Wendy's, which is implementing self-order kiosks, which is shown there, which basically eliminates the need to go to the counter and say your order to the cashier and pay there. You can just use the kiosk and order your meal, and not have to talk to anyone at all. Also, in Associated Press, the U.S. Bureau of Labor showed that in 2007, the unemployment rate was 4.6%, and by 2010, the rate was increased to 9.9%, which shows how automation has taken jobs, as shown with the first two evidence, and shows how it increased the unemployment rate. Mental illness is also a social implication of automation, and it's shown how long-term unemployment can lead to mental illness. From scientists from the International Journal of Psychology, self-esteem levels were tested over 12 months by asking questions to unemployed people, and it was shown how self-esteem levels decreased by about 13% over the year after unemployment. Low self-esteem can also lead to other mental diseases, such as depression, which was also tested in another study by the International Journal of Psychology. Subjects were tested over a year for symptoms of depression, and it was shown that in unemployed people, depression increased by about 21%. Depression can cause quality of life to decrease, possibly even limiting a chance of getting a new job after being unemployed for a year. Research from the Australia and New Zealand Journal of Psychiatry did a general test on all people to see how many would self-diagnose anxiety. Only 4% of employed people self-diagnosed themselves, but 13% of unemployed people did, which shows how unemployment can affect mental health. Mental health diseases can also lead to other severe problems, one of these problems being drug addiction. Drug addiction is one of the severe effects of unemployment and mental illness. In a study by Pekka Martikainen from the Department of Social Research, people intermittently unemployed for over years showed an increase of 9.6% of antidepressant usage, showing that there's a domino effect from unemployment, since it can cause depression, which leads to an increased use of antidepressants. From a study by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, about 23% of unemployed people who experience a major depressive episode use stimulants non-medically. This shows how the effects of unemployment and depression lead to drug addiction, which can cause even more severe health effects using stimulants non-medically. Now, there is another side to this story about how people think automation is a good thing. So research by the top think tank group in the world, the McKinsey Global Institute, showed how computers and automation can do 45% of all jobs, saving $2 trillion that could go back to paying off U.S. debt or even just funding new technologies that could be used in the workplace. And also, computers are much more efficient than human workers. They can put information in a computer and spit out a report in minutes rather than having a human type everything in and do a report that could take hours or even days, possibly. But in the end, there are some benefits, but the health risks of depression and drug abuse outweigh the rewards of doing work faster. One solution to this problem of whether to use automation or not is to keep technology in the workplace, but on a smaller scale. So still keep human laborers, but only include technology as a small part, which means people still get to keep their jobs while having access to the technology to help them do their jobs, possibly even faster or more efficiently. So they still have the technology, but no jobs are lost, which wouldn't raise unemployment. However, this is unlikely that this happens because it's unlikely that companies use both, because then they would have two things doing the same job, which means they would basically have to pay double, which they have to pay for the human laborer and for the technology. And companies wouldn't want to do that because then they would have to either end up firing people or decrease how much they pay their employees. One other solution could be to not implement technology at all, saving all jobs and not raising the unemployment rate at all. However, this could cause companies to fall behind with innovation and cause slower work and make less money for the company, which would not be good because then they would have to fire people and they would make less money. In conclusion, after research, the health risks of depression, anxiety, drug abuse, as well as extensive unemployment are risks that most definitely outweigh the rewards of faster work and less debt.
Do you find any evidence that you gathered that you didn't use, and then why did you choose not to use it?
I did find more research from the International Journal of Psychology about some drug abuse and stuff like that, but I chose not to use it because I felt like I wanted some variety in my sources because I already used 2 of their studies, so I figured I should probably find something else, and it didn't fully explain what I needed to prove my point about drug addiction.
If you have more time, what additional research would you conduct related to your issue?
I might do research on other sides to the story, I guess, probably about like companies and how it affects them, because this was more about the workers. I could see like what the company's perspective would be like, how much they would want the technology in the workplace.
Okay.